Hi! Welcome back to another episode of Chris Dyer's Creative Friends, the super awesome podcast show where me, your artist friend Chris Dyer, talks to all his amazing creative friends. Today, I'm in Quilmana, Peru, at the country house of my parents, and I'm gonna be interviewing my own mother, Josephine Dyer. So, what to say about my mom? I love her. She gave birth to me. She raised me. She's a beautiful, elegant lady with so many great perspectives, and I would say one of the biggest persons who's influenced positivity and good outlook in life, in my life. And I wanted to share this with you. It's opening up a little bit of my personal internet space, both my home and my family. But this show's about sharing myself and the people I connect with, and how could I not share one of the closest friends to me, the closest creative friends to me. So here we go, and I hope you enjoy it. Blessings! Woo!
While the world is burning, got to make amends. Walk on the sunny side with the positive lens. Talks about passion between the women and the men. Chris Dyer and his creative friends. Darling, ooh, ooh, ooh.
Hi, Mom. Thanks for having me in your living room and for being part of my podcast show.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I think this is really something special.
Are you nervous?
A bit, yes, because I'm not a full-fledged artist, and you have interviewed so many interesting and important people.
Well, thanks for watching my show. I know you try to catch most of them. Is there any guests or interviews that caught your attention?
Yes, I must say I wrote a list down because I can't remember all of them because there's so many. In fact, there are many more, but I can't mention them. Well, obviously, your brother Patrick Peru and his long trajectory in art. With Cirque du Soleil, Facebook, diners, and he's gone to Japan and Spain and USA, and now SpaceX, out into the atmosphere. That's really something special. Then Miki Gonzalez, I love his music. It's a fusion of Peruvian music with Negroid, and he has a very good rhythm. I would advise people to listen to his music. Miki Gonzalez. Mauro Reategui has a jungle kind of spiritual way of displaying his art that is magical. It's out of this world.
And you met him in the jungle, right?
I met him, and I really like his art. It's different. It's absolutely different. Then Leyla, she was interesting to hear.
Leyla Is On Fire, Montreal artist, one of the first shows.
Conrad Florez, Entes, Zion, Spero. She has an explosive way of displaying her art, explosive with colors, very cheerful. Valerie and many more.
Yeah.
Probably.
Valerie, my ex-wife, was part of this show too. We'll put the episode numbers as you say it, so if people wanna check it out, they can.
Yeah.
So, Mom, where are we right now?
Right now, we're in our farm, our avocado farm.
What's the name of the town?
In Quilmana, which is a small town in the north part of Cañete. It's a town that's pretty lost and dusty, but we've made our farm full of palm trees and fruit trees. Not only avocado, but we have grapes and passion fruit, bananas, berries, a bit of everything that, depending on the time of year, we enjoy, and it's all organic. So thank the universe and the cosmos, we're very healthy.
So it's like a retirement project, huh?
Yes.
And you
it
guys have
was.
built this house and other...
Yes. Between Teddy and I, we designed it in sort of a European country house with, beams and bay windows, and spacious, rather spacious and fresh, with double windows, so windows on the first floor and on the roof near the ceiling, so the air can change because it does go up to 40 degrees
And you guys
Celsius.
got no air conditioning here.
No, just fans. I'm a bit anti-air conditioning.
Uh-huh. And it seems like here it's the perfect place for your different collections, your art collection, and what other collections do you guys have?
Well, Teddy collects beer mugs and coasters, corks, toy cars, fine toy cars. He just collects about everything. Yeah.
What about you?
I collected about 9 elephants with the trunk up because they say it gives you good luck. I'm not superstitious really, but it makes me happy anyway because it was given to me. They were given to me. And perfume bottles of different parts of Belgium and Canada and Peru, China and so forth. I haven't been to China yet, but some of them are Chinese carved perfume bottles.
So how is living in the countryside of Peru? Like, this is 2 hours south of Lima, the big city of 10 million people, and all of a sudden you're in a small agricultural valley. How is it to be in the country? Is it relaxing? Is it boring? Is it a lot of hard work? How is it?
First of all, nature makes me very happy, and the sun makes me very happy. It cheers me up as soon as it starts shining at about 7 o'clock in the morning. It comes through all the windows on all sides. That's what makes me happy, and it's very peaceful. You don't hear traffic. I just hear birds and donkeys and roosters, dogs. It's very peaceful. It allows me to do some reading and have some peaceful moments as well when I'm having my solitude moment, which I like, I enjoy. I love it. I try to sit in the terrace as much as I can, especially in summer. And in winter it's a bit chilly and humid. But on the whole, the house keeps warm because somehow the roof attracts the heat of the day, and then it keeps warm in the evenings.
Because it's all brick.
Yes, brick and wood.
Do you get any time to do your art or play your guitar, or you're working too much?
Well, in the afternoons I do a little bit of hobbies. I read, and I have been postponing my guitar practicing. I do want to get on with it because it's an instrument that you can carry anywhere. Sometimes we go to the beach and we do a bonfire, or we go to some friend's house and have lunch, or just be together anywhere, and you can carry the instrument. You can't carry a piano. You can't carry a battery of drums, for example. Maybe you could if you make it a project, but a guitar, I think it's cheerful, and a lot of music is basically guitar playing. So I'll pursue it, I promise. Mm-hmm. And reading and drawing and painting.
Do you do much art? Do you consider yourself an artist?
I like to draw a lot. Lately I'm drawing more than painting. And I don't know if I consider myself an artist, but I do like art very much. I mean, you can see the art here, I mean, in all the walls. This house is already like a Swiss cheese full of holes with pictures hanging, and they're all originals. They're good originals. But no, if I would consider myself an artist, I would hang one of my pictures. I just have them hidden away. Mm-hmm. But I enjoy it, and when I have a look, I remember that, for example, I did a little sculpture when Patrick was 2 years old and you were about 5 years old. when we lived in Jorge Bucle in Lima, and Patrick would play with my friend's daughter, and that brings me memories where I have done my drawings or my paintings. I've done pastels and acrylics and watercolors.
And as an art appreciator, the style of art that you like is more like classic Peruvian paintings and stuff like that. And just to wrap up what you're saying, I encourage you to frame at least one of your drawings or paintings and share it on the gallery. But what is your opinion or perspective or feeling about the murals that my brother and I have brought, both of our art and our friends?
Well, they're very cheerful, they're full of colors, they're full of life, and we love them very much, that we want more and more and more, but we don't know how long we're going to live on the farm yet. Mm-hmm. Maybe a year or two more. And I love them. Every time I see a photograph or I look out the window, there it is.
What's the importance of art in people's lives?
Oh, it beautifies, it gives you pleasure, it cheers you up, it lifts the spirit. It's very important. I think it's vital. Mm-hmm. Absolutely vital.
Right. You've been living in Peru most of your life, correct?
Yeah, about 55 years, more or less, or 56.
Since you were 2 years old?
Yes, and on and off.
Yeah, and then you go to spells in Canada.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How is it living in Peru? What's your opinion of Peru in general?
Well, I've lived at 55 of my 73 years in Peru because I love Peru. I love it. I love the coast. I love the desert. We were just in the desert a few days ago. I love the jungle. I love the mountains. It's all very perfect and paradisiacal. I don't know if that's an English word. It's like paradise, and it's a country that has all the climates and the geography, sceneries that one can have. I guess United States has a little bit of jungle in the south, and then coniferous and maybe a little bit of desert and so forth. It's interesting. Canada also is mainly the same thing. You just see fir trees, the Rockies, and it has two oceans as well. Well, two oceans as well as the United States. But Peru, you go into, in 2 hours, you're into something totally different. One moment you're chilly and another moment you're hot. It has over 200 climates, to tell you an idea, to give you an idea. It's the breadbasket of the world because it has the strangest and most delicious fruits and vegetables and roots as well, like the yuca and the chirimoya, lucuma. Even the peanuts come from Peru, potato, of course. It's fantastic. I love it. I love it. It's just the politics are for the pits.
What's up with the politics?
No, don't ask me that, because we've had 5 presidents and most of them are in prison. Which is a joke.
5 presidents in the last 5 years.
Yes, which is worse even.
Why do they last so little?
Because at first they have a lot of ambition to improve Peru, to give more to the poor, to improve the hospitals, the schools, the highways, everything, health system, so forth. But then I guess the business people or other politicians say, give me the contract and I'll give you something under the table, and the president ends up corrupted. And
then they get caught.
Yes, they get caught.
And then they end up in jail.
Yes.
Which I think it's kind of nice. Not nice that there's corruptions, obviously, but it's nice that Peru's a country where the presidents, if they misbehave, they're under a microscope and right away they catch him and they put him in jail, and then the next person gets a chance. Sadly enough, they'll shit the bed and they end up doing the same, as opposed to really rising to the occasion and doing something for a good country.
Well, fortunately, the judicial, well, my first language is Spanish, judicial system is pretty good. It's autonomous, so nobody can meddle with them, and they have acted very quickly in divulging all the corruption. This last president, Pedro Castillo, has over 22 demands. Is that the way you say it? Demands sued?
He's been sued 22 times.
Yes. So they've caught everything, so they are scrutinizing everything that the politicians are doing. So
And now he's in jail.
that's good. Yeah, he's in jail, and they're giving a difficult time to the new president, which is the first woman president, Dina Boluarte. They're giving her a hard time. She started off very well. Let's see what happens, because I think she just has about 2 or 3 weeks working as a president.
So, as I was saying, you are pretty much a Peruvian. You were born in Canada, but you've lived here since 2 years old, and most of your life.
Yeah.
So you're more Peruvian than most people, but you don't look Peruvian. You look like what people here would call a gringa, a foreigner. On top of it, you got blue eyes and you're ginger.
And freckles.
What's the difference between quote unquote normal looking Peruvian and you? Is it a different experience, or is it the same for everyone?
Well, I'm used to it now. After 55 years, I'm used to it, and I laugh and I tell them I'm not a tourist. I've been living in Peru much more than you. You're probably 20 years old or 40 years old, but it really doesn't matter. It has been hard. They do stare a lot. And in fact, just to tell you a little anecdote, a few years ago I went to a restaurant and a little girl came up to me and asked me, "What is it that you have on your arms? Are you sick?" And I said, "No, it's freckles. It's just pigmentation of a redheaded person or a blonde." And I don't think she understood. So obviously it's a country in development, and many people have to learn more about the gringos, and they think that because one is white and blonde and blue-eyed and so forth, or green-eyed, that you are loaded with dollars in your pockets. And so every Wednesday I would take my taxi to my book group from 4 to 6 in winter, and I would take my regular taxi, but once in a while I'd take another taxi, and instead of charging me 7 soles, they would charge me 20 soles, because I'm a gringa. No, I'm a foreigner. They think I'm a tourist. And I say, no, I don't pay more than 7. And off you go. I'll get another one, because taxis are cheap and they're galore, and they don't need to abuse the foreigners either.
Did you get robbed more than usual because of it?
No, I haven't, because I'm tall. I probably intimidate them because I'm tall. I'm 5'7". But, well, we did get robbed once one Sunday when we left our apartment alone. And
yeah, but that's the house.
That's a different.
That's not anything.
No, but out on the street, just once, my purse. One evening I was coming back from the movies with my friends, and my sister-in-law Regina said, "There's a thief coming. She can feel it in her bones." And so I turned around, I had my purse hanging, and the thief came with his knife, cut the straps of my purse, took my purse, and swam into the window of his car, and off they went. And I was, because it hadn't happened to me. And then at 11 o'clock, a few blocks away, a man called because they found my telephone number in my purse. And he said, "I found my purse in the back part of my truck. And the name is Josephine Bailey Dyer. Is that your wife?" And Teddy said, "Yes, I'll go fetch the purse." And I only had 20 soles, which is about $5. Because I had already eaten and gone to the movies, so I came home.
Well, I'm happy you
I got all my documents perfect. Everything was okay.
I guess as an adult, you were in cars more than walking down the street a lot. Me, when I was a kid, I was walking around the streets a lot, taking buses, so I'd get mugged 3 to 4 times a year.
Well, before I was married, I took microbuses to my work downtown Lima. Nothing happened because it was another epoch. It was another time. It was the 70s, and people were more respectful. But little by little, crime is growing, like in all parts of the world. But I do walk a lot. I'm a walker. I've always walked around my neighborhood.
Well, you're also Canadian, and you lived in different spells of Canada. You were born there. Is your family Canadian? What's your roots? Tell me a little bit about your parents. Is it true that my grandfather grew up in a castle?
Yes, Christopher.
I find it very interesting.
Yes, he grew up in a castle. He was the youngest of 3 siblings. He had 2 older sisters, and they were attended by valets who would help them dress.
This is where?
Dress and undress when they were kids.
But where?
Oh, in Glenask, Wales, the castle of Glenask. And they were always on their own. And, I guess they went to private schools. My father was to go to Eton, but his mother decided, no, he better go to another private school. Anyway, they were always tended or served by strangers, servants.
What was their job or their role?
Well, they were kids growing up, and their parents always socialized because my grandfather was Lord Joseph Bailey, and my grandmother Vivian Carey. They were Lord and Lady, and they had to go to all these social engagements in different mansions and castles, I guess, and they weren't very lovey-dovey with their children. And that's why my mother had a bit of a hard time with my father, because he didn't know how to... He loved, he wasn't a bad man, but he was a bit cold. He was stoic and always a gentleman in a 3-piece suit, and would go out for walks when we were little children with his walking stick, and he very upright. He would never say, "Come on, kids, let's go for a walk. I want to see you ride your bicycle." No. It was my mother's responsibility and the 2 or 3 maids that we had in Barranco, in the south of Lima. And
because you were born in Montreal, but then you guys moved to Peru when you were 2 years old.
Yeah, I was born in Montreal, and then my sister was born in Montreal. We came to Peru. I turned 2 in Peru. My sister was 7 months old, and my brother was born here in San Isidro.
How was it growing up in Peru in the 50s and 60s?
Oh, it was quite nice. It was quite nice, even though there was a vast difference between the comfortable people, the rich people, and the very, very poor people. Then there was a lot of poor people, but there were people who lived off the land, and that was enough for them, and they were happy. And they were courteous, they were respectful, very respectful. And my mother, your nanny, would say it was the golden age because everybody helped each other. There was harmony. There was quite a nice amount of harmony. There was no fight until 1968. I was around 19, 20 years old, and the president, Juan Velasco Alvarado, did a coup d'etat. I don't know how you say it in English.
A golpe de estado. Yeah, coup d'etat. Is that the word that I know too?
Yeah.
It's when a person takes over the government by force.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he was a general.
Yes.
Or some military character.
Yeah, it was a military government.
And he kicked out the president. They took him over in his pajamas, got him out, and he's like, "I'm the president now."
Yes.
So this is 68?
Yes.
I thought it was the 70s.
No.
Okay.
It was 68, but in the 70s he started getting stronger and stronger, and he embedded in the poor people's mind, in the peasants, and in the jungle and in the mountains where the Indians, the natives live.
In the provinces.
In the provinces, that there are the rich are bad, and you have to come to Lima and fight for your rights, and it's not fair. What's happening? Of course, things have to improve in the provinces, like hospitals and schools, and give them better roads and more opportunities, job opportunities, and so forth. But in that sort of envious and resentful manner was a bad idea.
But it was a communist movement, right?
Yes, yes. So they came to Lima and they went straight to the palace, and he gave land away. He took away the farms from the people who had worked them for centuries, for many generations. He just took them away and had these poor peasants go into these farms, and they didn't know how to work the land. They knew how to work their small pieces of land, and they lived happily with their houses, their little houses, and they were healthy and comfortable. But then when they took over the farms of the more wealthier families, they didn't know what to do, and it just was a failure. It was a failure. So they claimed to the General Juan Velasco Alvarado, help us with seeds and tractors and instruments, tools. And he said, sorry, but you're on your own. You know, I already gave you land, do what you can. And it was a failure. It was a failure government.
That's how my dad's dad lost his hacienda, which is a city farm.
Yeah,
like a farm and a city mixed together.
Yeah, he administrated it. He wasn't the owner. He was the general manager. Yeah.
But they kicked him out.
They kicked him out, and because of the comings and goings and everything, he was in an accident in the highway, and he died. My father-in-law died.
When my dad was 19.
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole...
It's chaotic.
That whole episode was sad. But in general, for the country, it seemed like it just, I don't know, like it created more division. And now today we got another wave of communism in Peru, where the new leaders are saying like, screw the rich, and let's take it away from them to give to the poor. Which, like, I understand where there's differences, and you want to make everything more balanced and shared, because rich can also be like selfish and greedy, and take away from the poor too. Obviously we want the poor to be empowered also, but it seems like with the communist way, it's always not about like raising the poor, it's about like lowering the rich, and then everybody can meet down there. And meanwhile, the politicians are just stealing as much as they can so they can go up.
But the funny thing is that with other presidents like Belaunde, Garcia, and Toledo, Fujimori, the poor have grown to be middle class. They have built not their shacks of straw or wood. They have built cement houses, 2-story houses, and they have a car, they go to school, they dress better, they have better work. There's a better percentage of middle class than there was with Velasco Alvarado, or now with Pedro Castillo. Poverty has grown as well.
That's too bad, because it's so sad that a country with so many resources and beauty and tourism and history, but it's just like the greedy politicians always come in and ruin it for everybody.
Now, Peru is a paradise, not only in geography, but in food. It's one of the first culinary renowned countries in the world, and the people are good, and they have different provinces have different cultures. They have different clothing, their native clothings, and their different hats, and their different music, their different food. You go to Arequipa, you eat rocoto. You go to the north, you eat arroz con pato. You go to the up in the mountains, you eat your yuca with your soups. You go to the jungle, you eat your palm hearts and jabalí. And it's extremely interesting, and the people are good. They give, but a lot of resentment has gone into their hearts and minds, which is a shame.
Mm-hmm.
There should be another way.
Let's go back to your youth. So that was in the 60s with politics and all that stuff, but you were in your 20s in the late 60s and the 70s, which around the world was like hippie times. Were you a hippie in those days here in Peru? How was the hippie movement in Peru at the time?
It wasn't really big, but there were little cliques in different places where there were hippies that would get together and, well, smoke up and so forth, and incense and music and everything. But I was a wannabe. I had my old jeans and my ojotas, which is the Indian sandal made of car tires. And well, I had very long hair, but I think I might have worn my headband once. I had hats. I loved hats, and I wore lots of rings because I was a fan of Ringo Starr. And my Peruvian sash. That was at the most, but I wasn't much of a rebel. I was kind of scared, perhaps, but...
Mm-hmm. You were always
I had one or two
shy
friends.
when you're young, right?
Yes, I was an introvert, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Did you smoke up?
Well, just a little bit, since when I was 18 until I was 23, more or less. I started to work for the United Nations as a secretary, bilingual secretary, and I realized I went laughing. I laughed all afternoon. I said, I got to stop this because I can't go working in a quiet place where everybody's typing their letters and I'm laughing all the time. I was ridiculous. So I decided to stop because it would overlap to the next day and the next day, even though I didn't smoke anymore. Uh-huh. It kept on going. So I said, no, something's wrong here. So I stopped.
Okay. At what age did you meet my dad, and how was that? Tell me about meeting my dad, Teddy.
Okay, I worked in the Canadian Embassy for a month and a half, replacing somebody who gave birth. And it was summer. The Canadian Embassy only works till 2:00 up to this day. So I took my bag with my bathing suit and towel, and I hitchhiked together with a friend whom I met, a girlfriend, and we went to the beach. And we met a group of friends who were sitting in the sand, and my friend Violeta knew them because they're from the north of Peru, and she's from the north of Peru. She's from Piura, and some of them were from Chiclayo. And she started presenting me, introducing me. In Spanish you say present. And so we sat down, we had a nice day, and the funny thing is I bought peanuts, and she introduced me to Teddy, whom they called Mono, monkey, because he has a kind of a monkey way of acting, and he's hairy and has thin lips, just like the monkeys do. And but he's very sociable and funny, joking and so forth. Anyway, so I treated them to my peanuts because I think that was my lunch. And then we didn't know how to go home. Some of them had cars, some of them had motorcycles, and we didn't know how to go home, and we didn't want to hitchhike because it was about 6 or 7. It was getting dark. So Teddy said, I'll take you and you, me. Mm-hmm. And the other, they picked and chose who they take home. And so he said, can I meet you the next day? We can go to to the boardwalk of the Malecón Miraflores.
Miraflores boardwalk.
Yes. And we could see the sunset. And so I said,
Woo!
okay.
He wanted to make out with you.
We went on his motorcycle and we met with some friends and we saw the sunset and we went for a ride and everything. Yeah.
Okay. So it wasn't just you and him.
No, there were other friends.
Okay.
And we went for a ride and then he dropped me off. So that was 46 years ago, this March.
And you guys are still together.
No, in fact, 49 years because, well, let me tell you quickly. We started dating and then in March he wanted to become more serious. And 6 months later, he said, I want to marry you. And I said, too soon. 6 months is too soon. Why don't we wait a little while longer? And he said, okay. So I made him wait 3 years. But after 2 years going out, he gave me a ring. So we got engaged. Mommy came to make the engagement official. We drank champagne and all that.
She came from Canada.
Yes, she came from Canada.
Because she had already moved back to Canada
Yes.
by then.
But she told me, don't marry a Peruvian. Peruvians are very playful and they're not too faithful and this and that and the other. Well, I've been married for nearly 46 years, plus the 3 years that we've been together. Well, as boyfriend, girlfriend, because I lived in a house of a girlfriend of mine, and well, marriage has been a roller coaster, and here we are, still together.
Yeah, for good and for bad. Well, thank you for staying together. That that's great, I suppose. For me, at the end, whatever makes you guys happy, but at the same time, I guess a little bit less trauma if you guys stay together and keep each other company in these later years. Now that you're
We've
retired.
had our adventures. We've had a good life, I must say.
Yeah. How was it creating me?
Well,
I was conceived in Peru, right?
yes, yeah,
Because you moved to Canada already pregnant to have me
yes.
born.
Yes, you were born 3rd of March. Then we went back to Peru. And in September 1979, we said, Teddy, your dad wanted to go back to Canada because he really liked it. So we sold some of our things and we took some of our Peruvian wooden carved furniture, typical Peruvian, or Spanish pseudo-colonial furniture to Canada. You were 1 year old.
Okay, so my first year I actually lived in Peru.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, 6 months in Peru and then the rest in Canada. Yeah.
And sorry to ask you about me, but
No,
I am the
why
host
should you
of
be
this show.
sorry?
Well,
I love you.
I don't want to be self-centered, but
No.
so
No, you're
please,
important to me.
How was it? How was I when I was young, a kid, a teenager? What comes to mind?
Oh, you were like your papa, very energetic, very rambunctious. You got into a lot of trouble. You hit your eye with a house for sale sign, and then you were talking to me and you knocked yourself. I think it was here
I knocked my front teeth out, right?
Yes.
When I was 5 or something.
In a
Stone.
small stone wall, and I took you to first emergency right around the corner. Fortunately, that was in Peru. You were 4.5, 5 years old then. Yeah, you
So
were.
they were my milk teeth.
Yes. Once or twice. No. Once, I shouldn't really be telling you this while we're taping, but once I had to wash your face with cold water because you were so naughty. So I took you to the bathroom, washed your face with cold water so you can recapacitar, you know?
Calm down.
Yes, calm down. And another moment, you were so naughty. I can't remember what was the problem, but I just put you into the shower and turn the cold shower on with clothes and all because you were so naughty.
I was
Then-
an explosion of energy at
Yes,
moments.
yes. But anyway, but you were adorable and beautiful, and well, we went on picnics and camping and traveling all over Peru, to Chanchamayo, to the jungle, down to the desert in Peru, to a hotel with swimming pool. And we've had our fun, and
Was I creative as a kid?
yes, you were creative. I didn't have too many paintings, or maybe I had my paintings, but as you were 4 or 5 years old, I said I'd like you to be creative, because that was something I was taught as well, not by my family, but by school, to get the rolls of toilet paper, the little carton in the middle, or of the cartons of the toothpaste or shoe boxes, and that you could stick and paste and paint and all sorts of things on top of newspaper and make buildings or cars.
Spaceships.
Spaceships as well.
I think I remember. I haven't remembered till now. Yeah, spaceships had the toothpaste boxes.
Yeah.
And
Then
that's
I
cool.
bought some watercolors for you, little bottles of colors and brushes, and I would give you sheets so you can paint. And then in school they asked you to do projects that you could describe with art. It's not only what you memorize like other schools, but the school you went to, the British school you went to, you had to be creative. You had to get together with 2 or 3 of your schoolmates and do a big cartons of projects with pictures, cut out pictures and drawings and painting and all sorts of things. So it was very artistic and didactic.
Yeah. Why did you send me to that school? Markham
Well,
College.
Because my brother went to it, and it's a good school. It teaches you not only the Peruvian way, but the international or British way of studying, and for your English as well.
Was it difficult sending me to that school since it was more expensive?
Well, when you started out, it was still cheap. Peru was still cheap, so that was...
Affordable.
yeah, it was in the 1980s, like 1983, 4, 5, yeah.
84.
And it was still affordable. And then it became more expensive when they changed headmasters. He started tightening the screws with better quality academically, and demanding, well, that's a strong word, but asking, or the rule was for everybody to have a haircut, shouldn't touch the collar of your shirt has to be tucked in, your socks had to be just over your ankles, your shoes had to be polished, your uniforms had to be in perfect condition. And
Spick and span.
yes, and you had to speak in English during your breaks. Always English, and so the quality of the school improved a lot. So we were happy to send you there, because other schools were religious schools, and I heard canings, and my girlfriends who went to nun schools, some of them got not traumatized, but really didn't like the way how the nuns prohibited everything. Everything was prohibited. Magazines or language or slouching or whatever. There were too many restrictions. So,
Are you a spiritual person or religious, or what's your take on spirituality?
I think I'm more spiritual. Spiritual is a kind of religion. I consider myself Christian. Though I'm Anglican, I'm more of a Christian. I believe perhaps in a higher power. I believe in angels. One wonders, how did the universe happen? I know it's explosive and it develops into something. Who knows, there are other aliens, other civilizations living in other worlds, other galaxies. How are we such a constructive human being can work and can feed and take care of families, do all sorts of intelligent things, even though they're uneducated. It doesn't matter. It's an instinct. We have instinct, and we have creative and protective minds. So I think we are all spiritual in one way. It just depends on how we develop it. I'm very sensitive, and I think I am a spiritual person.
Do you think there's a general purpose to humanity or in our own individual lives? Is there like a goal or a reason why we're here existing, or is it just random?
I think we should just do the best we can without harming others. We're put on earth to do well, to live perhaps a simple life or an extraordinary life, but do well and not harm. There's a lot of harm, like, for example, the war against Ukraine. I think that's a selfish war, just to gain more land, more power, and I don't know, to stay in the books of history. But we should do well, and I think the world is improving in many ways, but it's deteriorating in other ways.
Mm-hmm. Do you have hope or optimism in humanity, or do you feel we're doomed and flawed?
Oh, what a question. No, I think there is hope. There is hope, because lots of people are quietly doing things, very positive and constructive things.
It's okay. Mm-hmm.
I have hope that things will be better.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to see them, but I think I have a limited time on earth. But I'll see you. I'll float around, mm-hmm. flap my wings and watch what's happening and hope for the best.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. So I know you're part of a book club, Las Chicas de la Literatura. Tell me about your love for reading and what's your favorite books?
Well, I've been in this group for 30 years, maybe 31 years, and we're 30 girls, coincidentally. And it's been every Wednesday from 4 to 6. Most book groups are only once a month, but this is 4 times a week, and we love it. And little by little, those who don't love it much have left, and the best friends have stayed. So it's a super special group. We all love each other. We talk intelligent and interesting about books and travel and thoughts and even spiritual things. Very smart girls and very kind too. We help each other a lot.
What's some of your favorite books you've read in that 30 years?
Well, Regina directs it. I read thousands of books. Of course, one forgets some of the subjects, but those that have impressed me is Hermann Hesse's Death in Venice. Then I like Gilgamesh, which is the first book ever written in Ur, Mesopotamia. Then from Jane Austen, Kafka, Edgar Allan Poe. I like Homer. I like the Iliad, Ulysses, Los Soldados de Salamina by the Spanish author Javier Cercas. The Divine Comedy is fascinating when somebody explains it to you, by Dante Alighieri. Shakespeare and Don Quixote, Federico Garcia Lorca, the biographies of Gandhi and different important people. I like biographies and I love history books. Then the Turkish author Orhan Pamuk also writes excellent. I have some books. I have most of these books, all of them, I think. Un Mundo para Julius by Alfredo Bryce Echenique, about Lima stories in the 1950s and the country club and so forth, and how frivolous some of the high-class women were, and the son who wanted things more simple. Anyway, then André Gide, which is more philosophical. Then there's this Kenise Mourouad. She was an Indian author who came from aristocratic family, and she wrote about the genealogy, about how India were different countries, and it started uniting with wars and so forth. Anyway, I like biographies and history, and I'm still reading Alice Munro, who just got a Nobel Prize.
What's the importance of reading? It seems like less people read these days, or at least read books less. What's the importance of reading, and how will the world change in a world where people are not encouraged to read books anymore?
Well, reading opens a world of things. You travel around, even if you're just sitting down quietly, you travel all over the world, and you learn about cultures, about feelings, about different kinds of people, good, bad, selfish, you name it. And it just opens your mind, and it gives you a better perspective, and it helps you deal with life as well. I think it educates you in a certain way. It's a lot of knowledge, and that's important. We need knowledge. We need to always educate ourselves until the day we die.
Do you feel that's what's helped you being so open-minded about different things?
Yes. For example, in my group, there are 2 or 3 who are extremely Catholic, and they just don't like the homosexuals. It's very hard, but because we have been reading books about homosexuality between women and men and other transgenders, they realize that that's how the world goes.
Yeah, different expressions.
So they might be still against it, but they're realizing that it exists, that you can't go against it and say, oh no, that should be discarded. They should be punished. They should be jailed. Or, I mean, we're in the 21st century. We got to be a little more open-minded.
Mm-hmm. In your life, you've seen different technological advances. I imagine when you were young, it was black and white TV. And now these days, everybody's got a supercomputer in their pockets where you can access anything and everything, for good and for bad.
Yeah.
What's your personal observation about this? Is it a positive thing, the advancement of technology, or is it too much power in our hands, or more power is a good thing? How do you see humanity advancing along with technology? Or is it not that different from when you were a kid?
Oh yes, it's quite different. We lived a very healthy, innocent life. We had first the mechanical typewriters, then the electrical typewriters, the IBMs, and we had the dial telephone and record players and all sorts of things like that. It was fun. It was innocent, and obviously we didn't miss what we didn't know. But I think the cell phone, for me, it's fabulous because I keep in contact instantly with anybody I want to have contact with. I love taking pictures. I've always loved photography. I remember when I was a girl, I had these instant discardable cameras where you had to twist for the next picture. And I always loved photography. And now with all this technology, I can take better pictures. And I take pictures of my flowers, of birds, of the sun, friends and family. Brings a lot of memory. I'm very sentimental, I'm telling you. I think that has to do with spirituality as well. Mm-hmm. You know, you're sensitive. But unfortunately, some people use the technology in a negative way. I hear people don't want to go on TikTok or I think United States wants to eliminate TikTok. Which is the other one? The one with the bird?
Twitter.
Twitter, because they attack each other. And there are people who are cruel, who write negative things.
Cyberbullying.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
Why bother? Why waste your energy on something like that instead of doing something beautiful for yourself in any case? Be selfish and I don't know, sing, cook, dance, hug somebody instead of attacking somebody you hardly know.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's a part of our humanity too that's being expressed through that. But with greater technology, there's greater power and greater responsibility, and most people just don't care, and they're misusing it and hurting more than they realize, because they don't really feel the feelings of the people they're attacking.
Obviously, they're sad, they're jealous, they're resentful, they're carrying some sort of baggage, so they have to spew this. So we have to have pity for them and ignore them.
Yeah, not energize it.
Fortunately, I haven't gone through that.
Would you consider yourself to be in the autumn or winter of your life?
I am in the autumn of my life.
But you're retired and you're in a good stage. Are you happy in this stage of your life?
Yes, I'm very happy. Thank the universe, the cosmos, the angels and God and everybody that I'm healthy. I'm healthy. I'm a happy person. I'm a positive person. I'm a peaceful person as well. I'm very peaceful.
Yeah, I remember when you came to my art retreat in the jungle a couple years ago in 2019. You got along with all of my other students, and everybody loved you. They called you the mami, and Papa was the papi.
Yes.
It was a really good vibe. How did you enjoy going to my retreat in the jungle?
I enjoyed it. I went with the flow. First of all, the food was very bland. I mean, I can eat without salt and sugar. That's okay. I can eat lots of vegetables. That's okay. But it was really bland and boring and repetitive. It could have been a little more interesting, but it was what it was, and I take it as it is.
Well, it wasn't like that they were bad cooks. It's that it's purposefully done bland, so that doesn't compete with the ayahuasca that you're drinking at night.
Was it like that every year? Because I think you told me it was more interesting other
years.
It
changed, but they themselves were learning that if they add less condiments, salt and sugar, it competes less with the medicine, and then the medicine can work better.
But we ate the same thing day after day and after. Anyway,
different cooks and different volunteers at different times will do different things.
And no, I liked it. I liked the cabin.
Even though it was cold water and no electricity?
No, I liked the rusticity, the rustic, that the cabin had just sticks in the shower, and but it didn't, it wasn't revealing.
Yeah, it was private.
No, it was fine.
You got to do some art.
Yeah, Papa wasn't too happy though. I liked all the activities. I didn't do the one in the river though, for some reason. I think I was still recuperating from my ayahuasca sessions. And also the tent.
The temazcal.
Yes.
Yeah, that one might have been
sweating
too hot
and everything.
for you.
Yeah. Well, I stayed as long as I could. But
you did get in, huh?
Oh yeah. Yes. But perhaps I was one of the few first ones that left because it was too much.
How was doing ayahuasca 3 times?
Fine. I'm surprised that that the shaman didn't give me a stronger cup the first time. I think he was careful.
Yeah, well, he didn't
I
want to
didn't
blow
feel a thing. The second time, I didn't feel a thing. And the third time, I really enjoyed it. It was relaxing, and I felt a pressure on me. I don't know what it was, but maybe it was my body weighing down. And I felt kind of like floating, but pressured. And my feet were cold. So I covered myself with a blanket, And I covered my face because I didn't want to
You want privacy.
embarrass. Yeah. So I covered myself with my shawl, and I went into these sort of angular, geometrical sort of road or a cave or way until then I relaxed. I said, no, I'm fine. And then it was a valley of squishy flowers. And I just went on in these bunches of flowers. I even drew it. And it was great. It was hours. I felt it was hours. I did hear other people having a fun time, others dancing, others crying, others had different experiences. But I had a very good one. And Papa had a different one as well.
Yeah. He was being cleansed more.
Yes.
Yeah.
His two first ones were work, and the last one was like a prize. But I'll let him explain it more.
Yeah.
But he'll have to explain it in Spanish because his English is hard for him to explain.
Let's
Anyway,
see if he agrees to do one of these interviews at some point.
yeah, I enjoyed it so much that I want to do it again with a professional, of course, no? Like this last one I went.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being open-minded enough to join me in the jungle and do a very strong medicine. I know it took me years to convince you that it was
Yeah.
all good and nothing dangerous. So thank you for trusting me and for being there and joining me in such a beautiful experience we all had together.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a beautiful
Well,
time.
I want to tell you another, a little experience I had, which has nothing to do with it. It was when I was expecting you. I was 7 months pregnant, and I traveled to Canada, and Papa stayed in Peru because he had to sell a little business, a little blue jean factory business he had with a close friend of his, Quito Canaval. So I arrived in Canada with my bump and a dress, and the policeman stopped me as I was passing the customs agency, and they said, "I'm sorry, but these two police women will take you into a room." And I said, "Why?" "Oh, we just want we want to check you out." And I said, "How strange." So they took me to the room, and they said, "Please, will you lift your dress up?" And I said, "Oh, what is happening here?" So I said, "Okay." Two women, I feel confidence with women. I lifted my dress up, and they realized I was expecting you. And they said, "Oh, please put your dress down. I'm sorry. We thought that you were carrying bags of cocaine because that's what people do when they come from Peru. They have a very bad reputation." So imagine confusing you with cocaine.
Well, I'm happy
They
I'm
were
not a bag of cocaine.
Yeah, they were so apologetic. They made the rest of my trip easy.
Yeah, I think that's a funny story. I
Yeah.
remember you telling it for my documentary, which you were also part of, Positive Creations on YouTube, if you guys want to check it out. Hour and a half story of my life. Yeah, thanks for it. I think that's so badass that you're like 7 months pregnant and flying, from South America up to Canada.
To give birth there,
Yeah.
to be with my mother. She wanted to participate because it was awfully expensive to have babies here.
Oh, no way.
Very, very expensive. And in Canada, it's free.
Yeah.
Because there's a free health system.
And then me being born there
Yeah.
made it that I'm officially Canadian and I
Yeah.
get healthcare
and by
good
chance,
education.
I had a cesarean section. It wasn't an easy birth.
Yeah.
It was a cesarean section.
I
so
gave you a
that's
hard time?
That could be costly in Peru too, twice as much.
Right.
So no. Yes, you gave me a hard time. 18 hours of contractions, and you just didn't want to come out.
I want to stay in the spiritual world. What's with this physical world?
Oh, maybe.
Well, I'm happy to be here
Yeah.
and to be of service.
I love you.
Oh, thanks. I love you too, Mom. Well, we're coming to the conclusion of this show. Is there any final words of wisdom you'd like to share with our viewers?
Well, a few experiences I've had lately, in let's say in a couple of months, I would say that my motto has always been, since I was a teenager, live and let live. Don't butt into other people's lives. Don't be judgmental. Don't expect anything. No, if you don't expect anything, you won't be hurt. So giving is natural. We give love, we help and everything, but don't expect that one should do the same to you. That's what I feel, no?
Give unconditionally.
Yes, unconditionally. Other words of wisdom: keep studying, keep researching, keep learning. Don't ever stop reading and learning until the rest of your life, because there's so much to learn. So much to learn about different fruits, or probably continents, or how the world was made, or how our body works, or what is out there in the atmosphere, in the galaxies. So much to learn. I like astrology as well. I don't know much, but I'm always reading up and looking at astrology and different cultures of the world. They're so interesting.
Well, thanks, man, for being a guest on my podcast show. How was it? Not too bad?
No, not too bad. No, I'm glad I'm in your group of podcast interviewed.
Of course. Not only you're my mom, but you're also one of my creative friends. So.
Bueno, me tienes que dar un abrazo.
Love you. Love you too, Mom. And I love you too, guys. And thank you for tuning in to another week of Chris Dyer's Creative Friends. And please make sure to press the like button and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. And make a comment if this interview touched any part of you. And share it, Share it on your Facebook, Twitter, whatever. Like, it'd be really great if this whole series could be seen by more people. And that's just done by word of mouth. I don't have a huge budget for it. The puppies are going at it out there. But yeah, I appreciate your helping me spread it out. So thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Blessings! Woo! Next episode, my guest will be Pale Horse.
I started meditating off and on, just getting into it, like probably around 2011. It was something that I never shared with anybody so much. It was like a personal practice, and I had a partner of mine, Kat Gomez, who was coming over to the studio. She was helping us with the Shine Festival, and then she started, became a bit of a mentor for her. We would work in the studio together, and I was doing my meditation practice in the studio. So I was like, if you're here at 7 o'clock, I do this meditation practice every night, so join me, because it'll be weird if I'm just doing it and you're here working. So she started meditating with me. That was the first time I had shared it with another person, and I got more comfortable doing it with another person, meditating and sharing it. It made me become more sincere of my own practice.
So please make sure to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Big thanks, and see you next episode. Peace.